Welcome to the latest episode of Branding the Experience, where we discuss ways how we can create environments where employees actually want to come to work and customers want to keep coming back. I am Ken Bader, your host for Branding the Experience, also your organizational culture and world-class service standards expert, here with our latest episode on brand messaging. And for this episode, I had the distinct pleasure to talk to an awesome copywriter. Her name is Kimberly Weitkamp. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Kimberly is a successful marketing strategist, podcaster, and conversion copywriter. She discovered the world of marketing through writing articles about travel while working as an English teacher in Spain. With her unique background, she developed the concierge conversion method to create long-term motivated buyers for businesses. This combines the principles of great customer service and easy learning, which helps companies regularly sell out their programs through increased brand awareness campaigns and lead nurturing sequences. And that's certainly a discussion we need to have on branding the experience. Let's listen to the interview with Kimberly Weitkamp. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Ken. I'm excited to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Welcome from beautiful St. Louis. Been to that town many times, had a lot of fun. And as a Blackhawks fan, I'll just say congratulations to your Blues for a few months ago, whatever.
Why, thank you.
We still have more Stanley Cups than you. But anyhow, nobody wants to hear about that unless they're a huge hockey fan like you and I are. I definitely want to hear more about your concierge conversion method because that goes right in line with what we talk about in the show in terms of creating an experience and truly engaging with our customers. And it sounds like that's what you have there. Tell us more about that method.
Absolutely. So basically, when I first got started with writing copy and for a variety of different types of companies, I noticed that they all had an idea about what kind of marketing material they wanted to create, but they didn't really know why. They didn't know if they wanted to create for one particular type of conversion over another, where people were going to be reading this, how they were going to be finding this type of thing. And I realized that a lot of people kind of skip a really important step when creating their marketing materials. And it's this 4-part process that I have essentially that I kind of just defined. And it's the steps you need to follow to make sure that you're creating both a very strong marketing campaign and you're building customer service into the entire process so that you're giving them a taste of what it's like to work with you before they're ready to buy from you. And basically what it starts with is number 1 is audience. Who exactly are you talking to? Because when I would ask my clients, okay, who do you serve? The first answer I would get would be, oh, we serve companies that have over 250 employees and make X million dollars a year. And I said, okay, a company is not reading your marketing material. A person is. Who is that person, right? And, then I'd also get the answer of, oh, well, we can serve everyone. I said, that's wonderful. But who do you best serve?
Yeah.
Who are the types of people that are going to benefit most? Why did you create your product or service? And who are those people that can benefit most from that product or service? So basically, you need to start, and part 1 of the concierge conversion method is with audience. Really settling down and defining your best 2 or 3 buyers. Not to say that other people won't be interested, won't be brought in by the materials you create, but when you're able to say, okay, I'm going to help HR marketers who have 15 different people they need to oversee, and they are really stressed out because they don't have the processes in place and they're looking for a software solution to put a process in place. Great. You've really defined the people you're going to help. And then you can then create the rest of the marketing material to bring in those right kinds of people. So that's just a little taste of the method I use basically to create any and all marketing campaigns when I'm working with my clients. But basically it's the idea of creating great customer service, building it into your marketing, and making sure you're connecting with the people you can best serve.
Oh, I love that for a couple different reasons.
One, yeah, we do have to talk about customer service when we're branding and marketing, because as I talk about, if we don't have the C going, we don't have the culture, and we don't have our customer service people involved in some way, and we can't highlight that and have that brand promise, yeah, it's all going to fall flat anyway. Coupled with the fact, I love that you're niching down your client. Frankly, I have trouble with that sometimes myself. I work with a lot of service-based companies out there and businesses, but I find when I really niche down, even when I niche down to my background, which is financial services, it doesn't necessarily limit me. Because what I find is, even though I might be talking specifically to that particular niche, what happens is I'll have a wellness business say, well, do you serve us too? Or a chiropractor say, well, what could you do for me? Because it really doesn't limit you. And I think that that's kind of the fear, is we don't want to exclude anybody. Do you find that as well?
Absolutely. That's the big fear, as you say, a lot of my clients have. They're like, well, we don't want to turn those people away. And I said, as long as they can see themselves in what you're talking about, you're not going to be turning people away.
Yeah.
And if you can still help them, you'll bring in those ideal people, those very absolute best fit, but then you're also going to bring in the people who are one step to the side of that. You're not excluding, right? You're bringing in those you most can help, and then you're also going to bring in people who gain interest, get that interesting idea from what you've said. They like what you say, they like the way you say it, whatever it is, and then they'll reach out as well. So it's not we're not going to let those people in. That's not who you're actively targeting. That doesn't mean you're not going to get more people who come in and be able to help more than just those ideal 3 people, but you need some place to start. And it's, the more generic your message is, the less likely it is to really resonate with people. Because if it's too generic, then they're like, well, it's the same. So why bother?
Yep. No, you're spot on. As some of our audience already knows, I do a lot of work with police-related businesses. And one in particular had a very, very vanilla mission and vision statement that they also made public. And I urged them to have law enforcement and police families and use that type of language in it. And I says, well, we don't want to alienate the family members or other people that might come to us. And like, for the love of God, if they're coming to you, it's because they're part of a law enforcement family, or they have a cousin 3 times removed, that's a police officer. They're not coming to you because they're running a coffee shop.
So true. So true.
Well, let's move on, because you also talk about ditching the formulas to stand out and marketing yourself and your company by being you. And I agree wholeheartedly with that, because at the heart, branding is telling your unique story. And people buy from other people and other personalities, and not necessarily from a business. Can you talk a little bit more about your work in that space?
Absolutely. And, I think it's really, really powerful. You're serving service professionals. So what makes you stand out? What makes your audience stand out from the next person offering the same service? It's the person offering the service.
Yeah.
And for me, it just frustrates me to no end when I'll see people who are like, oh, I found this great formula to create an email sequence. And you read it and they've not changed anything.
Yeah.
Right? They filled in the blanks, but the rest of the language is taken completely from the formula. Now, formulas are great as a starting point, as in, okay, this is how I want to structure something, but then you need to switch out the language to the language your audience is using. You need to switch out the way you phrase things to how you actually speak. And I find that when you use a formula, it's very obvious. And as someone who has, done a ton of marketing courses, learned a lot about different types of marketing, I know when I've gotten a formula in my email. And to me, it's like, oh wow, it just feels icky. It's not the person who's actually it's not the person who's actually reaching out to me.
And
noticed.
icky is actually an MBA term for marketing and branding. So I like icky.
Yes. Yes, it feels icky because it's like, okay, who is this person? I don't know. All I know is they took this course and couldn't be bothered to spend 2 minutes to put it into their own voice. And so one of the things I really stress to people is even when like just a very simple thing, right? I create a lot of email sequences that are follow-ups. Okay, they sign up to your list, now they're going to hear from you. And I said, don't make this from the company. The company didn't write the email. A person did. Make this from an actual person they could pick up the phone and call and make sure it sounds like that person. It doesn't have to be an exact match, of course, but it has to sound like the company's voice, tone. It also needs to be from a person. So, I say the formulas are starting points, but honestly, if all you can see with a formula is, oh, this is all I need, then don't even use them, right? Use your passion.
Now a word from our sponsor, Bader Training and Consulting. BTC is the creator of the B plus C plus S formula. Our clients that implement that formula increase their net income by 124% and grow their business by 17% on average. The best place to start working with Bader Training and Consulting is with our B plus C plus S audit. The service pinpoints issues as well as attributes of your business's unique brand, culture, and strategy. Learn more or sign up for a B plus C plus S audit at www.btcinc.net/BCS-audit. Right. Yeah. In full disclosure, we had this great conversation at the New Media Summit. Shout out to Steve Olsher and the New Media Summit when we were talking about these formulas. And, I see this all the time in especially the financial institutions and especially with small banks and credit unions.
Fantastic event.
Yeah, it was a great event. And I appreciate that, a lot of these small financial institutions are really strapped for their marketing budget and all that other fun stuff, but they'll get a formula or a brochure or some copy from a vendor for a product that they've grabbed, which is fine, and are now offering to their customers or members, but they'll use that copy, even the visuals, just as it was given to them. And I'm like, for the love of God, can we take those visuals off and rewrite the copy a little bit? Make it your own, because people, it's just clunky then, or as you say, icky. And
it is icky.
Yeah. And to show that I actually follow some of the same advice that I give out, Sean Douglas, another shout out to New Media Summit and another great podcaster. He does Life Transformation Radio, and have gotten some mentoring from him. And he provided me with a sheet or a copy to send to event planners and conference executives and so forth to try and get speaking gigs. And the first thing that I did is I read the whole thing and I said it was great. And I'm like, but you know what? Anybody that knows me knows, how I write and what my voice is. So I went through, rather than just simply cutting and pasting and taking a couple things out, I went through line by line the entire email and said, no, that doesn't sound like me. I need to change that. And not just, presentation titles or book titles or things of that nature. I literally went in and changed and looked at sentences and said, you know what? That actually does sound like me, so I'll leave that in. This doesn't, so I'm either going to delete it or change it. So, great point, Kimberly.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I find is I like to call it the corporate wee-wee. When you go to somebody's website, full props to Pam Foster. I heard that at a conference once, and she calls it the corporate wee-wee. And what is that is when you land on a website and it says, we do this, we understand this, we help you do X, Y, Z, because it's all about the company and it's not about your audience.
Yeah.
And honestly, the easiest way for you to kind of transform what you're saying is use examples and use language that your audience is using. So while I, as a marketer, might use terms like ROI and APB and CPC and, all of these really fun terms that everyone's going to say, wait, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Instead, you say, look, if you invest in this product, then you can expect to see your business increase by 30% or something.
Right.
They understand those terms, right? It's essentially me explaining a term I would use that could be a lot shorter. But if those aren't the words the people I help use, that's not the words they're searching for. It's not the words they're picking up their phone and saying, hey, Google, how do I do this?
Right.
It's not the words that they're going to be actively wanting to know more about. So you need to be able to, and that's why it's so important to have your audience in mind whenever you create anything is, okay, these are the people I'm going to help, and these are the phrases, these are the questions they have, and how can I help them answer those questions?
Yeah. Great point. One point that I do want to get to before we let you go back to work, because we appreciate you having a conversation here and taking some time out of what I know is a real busy day. But one subject we haven't really delved into that much, if at all, on branding the experience is a subject that you're an expert on, which is finding lost buyers. And I know myself and a lot of the folks in the audience, we'll get a lead and we'll follow up with maybe 1 or 2 emails and try to get something to the next level in the sales funnel, and then it just falls through the cracks. But you talk about finding those lost buyers. What are your suggestions on how to do that?
So the first suggestion I have, and it's a fairly common one, but it's one that still a lot of people kind of overlook, is offering a reason for them to get on your email list as soon as they land on your website.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is because there's a couple of fun stats, right? You have about 8 seconds to convince somebody if they're in the right place or not. Now, that's not to convince them to make a sale. It's to convince them, should I stick around or should I not stick around?
Right.
And one of the things I do for my clients is I audit their sites and I look at their traffic and I look at how long people stay on pages. And what I've noticed here lately is that time has gone so far down. I mean, we're talking people who land on your site, they're spending a minute or less.
Right.
So that's not to say they're not interested, but we like to click around, right? We like to go and compare and look at a bunch of different things and go back to our Google search results. So if they're interested enough to land on your site and then they're interested enough to say, raise their hand and say, oh, that sounds interesting, then you can have an opportunity to continue connecting with them after they've landed on your site, right? Most of that connection is not going to be that front page. It's not going to be your front window, right? When people are walking through the street, you have to get them in the door and then you have to show them what you have to offer. So getting them onto your email list is number 1. And attached to that, number 2 is don't call it a newsletter. Because I don't know about you, but I know my inbox right now has over 1,000 unread messages and I'm never going to get to all of them.
Yeah.
I don't need another newsletter. So what you want to encourage people to do is let them know what they'll get by signing up. It's not a newsletter. What are you going to offer them? Are you going to say, hey, you'll get a weekly quick read 5-minute email from me that's going to give you a marketing tip to put into action right now? Mm-hmm. Great. That's useful for a lot of people. Are you going to tell them about 5-minute productivity hacks? When they sign up to your list, right? Say, okay, you'll get a daily productivity hack so you can start shaving 10 minutes off of your weekly tasks.
Mm-hmm.
That's really useful too. So let them know the benefit of signing up when they land on that site. So that's pretty much number 1 is asking for that first sign up. And then the second half is it relates to what you said, right? You said that you'll find a lead, you'll contact them 1 or 2 times, and then, you get busy and things fall by the wayside.
Right.
Well, the average with service providers, right, we're providing a service to other businesses or to other individuals. So it's what we call business to business. The average business to business lead takes 5 to 12 points of contact before they're ready to work with you. That's a lot of follow-up, and not all of us have the time for it, or not all of us can manage to do that in a timely manner. But one thing I tell people to do is, look, go through the list of leads you have. Who haven't you contacted in a while? Reach out to them and say, hey, are you still looking for help with this? If they respond, if they open it, you can then re-engage them with a series of emails. And it's never too late. That's the one thing I want to emphasize. If somebody raised their hand and said, yes, please contact me, if that was at a conference, if that was in person, if that was, in the grocery store, and they're like, I've got to get the ice cream home, but you know what you say you do is really interesting and I want to learn more. No matter how you got introduced to these leads, if they said yes, they're not going to mind hearing from you. Short and sweet. Reach out, simple message. Hey, we connected. If you remember how you connected, hey, we connected at the New Media Summit, for example. Are you still interested in help with your marketing? Very simple.
Yeah.
You don't get a response or they don't open it, well, then most likely they're no longer reading your emails and you can move on. But if they open it, great. You can then send them a series of messages to do that reconnection. Yeah. So basically with finding your lost buyers, with finding your lost leads, it's going through the people you already have, going through the resources you already have, and doing a quick outreach. It doesn't have to be in depth. It doesn't have to be, oh, hey, I've got this new sale going on, come buy from me. Because if they haven't heard from you in 3 months, then they're going to say, who are you? Goodbye. But, reconnecting. And that also ties into the customer service and being part of the experience through every part of your marketing.
Yeah, I love that approach with, are you still interested in, or like you said, I think, do you still need help with? Because that's kind of a warm, non-threatening, because they could just say no. I don't work with bald people, so, and then you know where you stand, and and you don't have to go and belabor the point. I think it goes along with a piece of advice that I give on email marketing, because I do have some clients that are really, really anal when it comes to email marketing. It's like, well, I don't want to inundate, the list. I says, there are some companies out there that send out emails every day. And I'm not necessarily saying that your product or service is right for an everyday email. However, once a week or twice a month or something like that isn't too much. And if somebody does unsubscribe, they were never your prospect to begin with, so don't worry about it. They did you a favor.
I've run into this a lot with software companies. They're like, oh, we don't want to bother these people, right? It's too much. And I said, look, the best time for you to make that connection and to make the connection stick is within a week. So if you send them one message saying, here's what you asked for, and then you don't contact them from a month, they're going to think you are not interested. They're going to think, oh, well, maybe this person isn't exactly the fit I was looking for, because they have so many other things going on that they're not going to remember they signed up in the first place. So, I completely agree. It depends on your audience, absolutely. But some audiences, yes, they want that daily message. Some audiences, they want a message twice a week. Sometimes they want that message once a week. And for a lot of people, right, they're not going to open every email. But maybe they open 50% of your emails. That's okay too. That subject line resonated with what they were interested and experiencing in the moment. The next one maybe didn't, and that's okay. But to have this idea of, oh, I don't want to bother them, I've stayed on lists when I haven't opened a message in 2 weeks. But then a new subject line comes through, and I'm like, oh, great, this is exactly what I wanted to learn about today. So I open it, right? People are perfectly capable of not opening your messages. So if they want to unsubscribe, they will. But a lot of times they're just going to open what's interesting to them and not the ones that aren't. But you're not going to be a nuisance to them because they raised their hand. They said, yes, I want to learn more. So obviously they want to learn more. And you keeping that knowledge from them, you not helping them find what they're looking for, it's not helpful to them. It's actually harmful. So why would you want to approach it from, I always approach it from, well, are you helping them? Are you providing content that's useful, that's valuable? Then send it, because there's plenty of people who are wanting that information.
Yeah. No, to your point, There are fellow thought leaders that I'm on their email or their newsletter or whatever it is that they call it.
The dreaded word.
Yeah, and I'll receive it, like maybe, once a week or whatever, and there'll be weeks, months, sometimes even over a year where I don't open one because I get so much email in my email box. But then there'll be that one subject line or that one thought, and I'm like, I want to open that. And I'm not going to unsubscribe because I appreciate you and what you're offering. I just don't need it right now. So, not clicking or opening isn't necessarily bad. I look in the email lists that I have. If, you haven't unsubscribed, even if you haven't opened or clicked on something in a while, means that you still, have me in the back of your mind. It's like, I don't want to cut off relationship. Yeah, I just don't need this type of training or type of communication right now. So great point among many awesome points that you made. I'm so happy that you were here to share a lot of your expertise and knowledge. The last question that I have for you, if anybody in our audience needs your help, needs your copywriting help, could really use your expertise, how best can they find you?
Absolutely. So if they're looking for marketing help or copywriting expertise, or if they just want a couple easy steps on things they can check on their own website to see if they can maybe increase conversions, then go to travelindustrycopy.com/podcast. And there I have a free email series. It's a 5-day challenge, basically. And it's a challenge for people to increase their website conversions. So over 5 days, they'll learn, the most common things I see just when looking at clients' websites that they can test to see if they do a little change, a little tweak, small, minor adjustment, getting people on your site longer, keeping more people and connecting and bringing in more of those people that you're wanting to help. So they can find out more information at travelindustrycopy.com/podcast. They can sign up for the 5-day challenge. Welcome to follow, connect on Twitter. It's K_WEITKAMP. Very difficult to spell my last name. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm Travel Industry Copy on Facebook, and I'm Kimberly Weitkamp on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimberly. I really appreciate you taking some time with us today, and you've been an awesome guest.
Thank you so much for having me, Ken. This has been so much fun. I love geeking out about marketing.
Terrific. And we did a great job today of giving a lot of great tips to everybody in the audience. I encourage you to go and grab Kimberly's resources, whether you're in the travel industry or any service-based industry or business, because that's really going to help you. And thank you for being with us. And as always, here's hoping that you're branding the experience at a very high level for all those you serve. Take care. Thank you for watching Branding the Experience. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're looking for a speaker on branding the experience, on workplace culture, or on business strategy, I have a number of different options for you. And my approach is always to entertain first, engage second, and educate third. It's a formula that leaves my audience not only laughing and enjoying, but also learning. So if you want a great speaker on branding, culture building, or strategy, I'd like to hear from you. Simply send me an email at kbator, BATOR, @btcinc.net, or to learn more about the presentations that I've done that have been successful in the past, go to www.btcinc.net.